Hey guys, Donat here. So yesterday Blizzard made the Paragon levels official. Today we have the official complete patch notes, and if everything goes right, by tomorrow we can already enjoy the new patch. Now there is a ton of information on the official Diablo website, and I also included the link in the description. I highly suggest for everyone to go and have a look at least on the most important stuff, but I will give you also a quick rundown. Let me just tell you that it's quite amazing how many things Blizzard is now fixing that the players have been asking for. At the same time, of course, it's also shocking how many things had to be patched in the first place. Nevertheless, these are news that I think everyone can really look forward to. As there is quite a lot of information to be covered, I will give you shortcuts to the most important parts. Paragon levels we will not discuss in this video, as we already did that yesterday. If you didn't see the previous video, I highly recommend to do it because there is a lot of information in there. On the other hand, we will have a closer look on the news about the gold auction house, about the items, the monsters, and about the various changes that affect all the skills of the different classes. Before we jump into things, let me just tell you, I haven't been so excited about scheduled server maintenance as I am now. As a warm-up, let me mention a few random but important things about general gameplay. First of all, a few additional information towards the Paragon levels. For the moment, it seems there is no restriction on gaining experience towards Paragon levels once one has reached level 60, and everything that grounds regular experience will work also towards the Paragon levels as well. This means that it will be very beneficial to continue to focus on killing streaks, and probably we can also expect a big spike for the prices of ruby gems and plus XP gear in general. Unfortunately, it also seems that Paragon levels will not be exclusively for Inferno, and that you will be able to gain experience in Hell as well. Now this also kills any race, any legal race, towards the first 100 Paragon level status, because bots who run 24/7 will easily claim this title. Now this is speculation only, but there has been no such restriction mentioned until now. It is also important to mention that there are bots out there who are able to run at least early Act 1 Inferno, so it would not also restrict all of the bots, even if they would do this restriction. On a more positive note, Nephilim Valor will be more important than ever, as on top of the 15% magic and gold find bonus, each stack will also grant now 15% bonus experience. Probably of lesser importance, but useful nonetheless, is the fact that now you will be able to repair all your stuff also at the blacksmith. Also, several bugs have been fixed, which prevented people for finishing certain achievements. On a similar note, a lot of bugs have been fixed that also prevented players from finishing certain quests. I'm sure a lot of people will upload these changes because let me tell you, if you are looking for days or weeks for Vandal J Armorsmith for example, you finally found him and then you watch him die under a collapsing wall, your monitor and keyboard can become victims of physical harassment. Further measures to help keep your blood pressure at a reasonable level include, for example, that your skills are now locked on your skill bar. This means that you are only able to drag and drop them once the skill window is open. Now this of course also means that finally in the heat of battle you are not able to successfully erase one of your skills and lose all 5 stacks of Nephilim Valor as a result. Also, all those fearless individuals who are still getting involved in person-to-person training will be really happy to learn that there will be now a 2-second delay should either player make any changes for their offerings. Last but not least, during item comparison, the protection percentage will finally also take into consideration the resists and not just the armor and the main stats. With all of this covered, let's now dive into the auction house shenanigans. There are some really massive changes in here, and hopefully, finally the auction house can work as it was intended to. One of the biggest changes is you can now cancel auctions at any given time, as long as they don't have any active bids on them. Now without question, this will help you a lot to optimize all your auction house sales, because let's be honest, if the items didn't sell within reasonable time, which means maximum a day but usually less, then you couldn't really expect for them to sell anyway. Another big improvement which everyone has asked for is that now they are increasing the number of preferred stats you can search for from 3 to 6. This will definitely shorten the time a lot looking for that one particular item with 4 or 5 affixes that you need. Also, it will help to discover the real value of the items a lot easier. For bidding enthusiasts and everyone who is looking for newly listed underpriced items, It will be great news that finally you can also sort your search results by time left. Also, the search criteria minimum damage will be now replaced with average damage, which will make those searches a lot more easier. There are many more changes which will make the auction house a lot more enjoyable experience, but we will cover that in the next upcoming Gold Auction House series. With the auction house covered for now, we will jump over to the skills of the different classes. Now we will not go into detail for every single one because for the 5 classes in total there are over 200 changes. However, we will give you a quick overlook of what's happening and mention the actual nerfs. In general, for each class we can say that buffs outweigh nerfs by 10 to 1 or better. Most of the buffs are increasing the damage of certain skills and runes, while most of the nerfs are decreasing proc efficiency. The most changes are of course for the Witch Doctor, followed by surprisingly the Demon Hunter, and the least changes are for the Monk. With that said, let's jump into the details. We will start off with the Wizard, which received only one nerf. Now this is of course the already discussed Energy Twister, where the proc coefficiency has been halved, reduced from 0.25 to 0.125. At the same time, Wizards will benefit from over 30 buffs. As already mentioned, most of the buffs are damage increases, sometimes quite significantly. The second class will be the Monk, who received the least number of changes. Monks received also only one nerf, which did hit the Mystic Ally, which will no longer trigger procs whatsoever. At the same time, they are benefiting from over 20 buffs. Our next class is the Barbarian. Now they have suffered 3 nerfs. These are in order: Bash with the Instigation rune, where the bonus fury generated has been reduced from 6 to 4, Hammer of the Ancients with the Devil's Anvil rune, where the proc efficiency has been seriously reduced from 1 to 0.08, and Overpower with the Crushing Advance rune, which no longer can trigger procs at all. At the same time, they are benefiting from over 30 buffs, mostly, once again, on damage increases. Our next class are the Demon Hunters, who received the second most nerfs, but at the same time also the second most buffs. We have 5 nerfs in total. The first one is Caltrops with Jagged Spikes rune. Now this one can no longer trigger procs at all. Chakram Shuriken Cloud rune has also lost half of its proc efficiency, reduced from 0.33 to 0.125. Although Entangling Shot did see several damage buffs, at the same time the weapon damage percentage is no longer based off the attack speed. Grenades with the Gas Grenades rune had it coming as well, where once again proc efficiency has been reduced severely from 0.5 to 0.165. And last but not least, everyone's favorite Smokescreen with the Choking Gas rune has also its weapon damage percentage no longer based on the attack speed. Now before everybody cries out disaster, let's mention that they are also benefiting from around 40 buffs in total. Last but not least, we will have a look at the Witch Doctor, which did receive the most buffs and the most nerfs as well at the same time, basically pretty much reconstructing the class itself. As already mentioned, the biggest changes are for the pets, which will be now a lot more durable in Inferno. At the same time, they are also seeing 6 nerfs, which we will have a closer look at right now. For starters, Firebomb's Fire Pit rune has seen its proc efficiency reduced severely from 0.67 to 0.067. Pretty much the same happened to Spirit Barrage's Manitou rune, which did see its proc efficiency reduced from 0.5 to a mere 0.125. While Zombie Dogs did receive a ton of buffs from this patch, at the same time 2 runes have lost almost all of their proc efficiency. These are Rabbit Dogs, where proc efficiency has been reduced from 1 to 0.1, and Burning Dogs, where it has been reduced from 1 to 0.05. Next one up is Spirit Vessel, which although it received 2 buffs, at the same time its duration has been decreased from 3 seconds to 2. And last but not least, Vision Quest has been completely redesigned. It now grants 30% increased mana regeneration for 5 seconds after doing damage with Corpse Spiders, Firebomb, Plague of Toads or Poison Dart. Let's however also mention for Witch Doctors that they received over 60 buffs. After this rather boring summary, let's jump over to the more interesting item changes. The most important changes regarding items are actually for weapons. First of all eye level 60 to 62 damage affixes have had their minimum and maximum top-end damage values increased. This means that now finally 60, 61 and 62 level weapons will have also the possibility to roll a lot higher DPS. This is of course an excellent change, because finally not 99.9% of all weapons we find will be complete trash. At the same time, in the long run, we can expect a drop for the prices of mid-range weapons, because the higher damage rolls will also mean that there will be a new class of high-end weapons. Two-handed melee weapons receive quite a lot of buffs as well. Their core stats are increased by approximately 70%, and also their FX changes are now able to roll for up to 200% on stats as critical damage, life on hit, life after each kill, and lifesteal. Hopefully this will help to make two-handed melee weapons a lot more viable also in late Inferno. As already mentioned, repair costs has been decreased as well, from eye level 53 upwards by up to 25%. Further good news is that weapon recs finally drop once again 100%, although most of them will be garbage, and also destructibles can drop items once again. Let's take our revenge on those barrels and vases. Legendary items we had a bit more detail in our last video, so let me just say that finally they fixed all the bugging attack speed affixes. And finally, let's have a look at the changes regarding the monsters and the bosses. Regarding bosses, we mostly have bug fixes. However, Magda and Asmodean's projectiles can now be slowed, and also Gom's gas cloud will be less lethal. For normal mobs, we will see a shift in terms of XP and loot item depending on how difficult the opponent is. At the same time, in general, level 61 to 63 monsters will grant approximately 60% more XP than before. Normal mobs are now also more difficult to kill. From Act 2, their health has been increased, Act 2 by 4%, Act 3 and 4 by 10%. At the same time, normal mobs drop now magic and rare items 4 times as much as before. While Blizzard is buffing normal monsters, elites see a decrease in health. Act 1, elite monsters have now 11% less health, Act 2, their health has been reduced by 8%, and Act 3, Act 4, their health has been reduced by 2.5%. At the same time, there is also a larger damage reduction. Act 2, overall 8% less damage is dealt by monsters, and Act 3 and 4 overall about 15%. For Act 1 farmers, it's important to mention that Leoric's dungeons have now a total of 5 uniques each that can be spawned. At the same time, in the Cemetery of the Forsaken, the skeletal rare pack will spawn instead of 50%, or now only for 20% of times. Also, Road of Alcarnus will have no more treasure goblin spawns. Further good news is that ranged goats will now less likely to be kiting you. Lastly, there are drastic changes to champion and rare packs in general. First of all, enrage timers for champions and elites are now history. They are also not healing back up after they are not engaged for some time. As we already know, invulnerable minions will no longer exist, and jailers can now not be together with knockback, nightmarish or vortex affixes. Shielding monsters have an overhaul as well. Now only one monster can be shielded at the same time, and if there is only one left, it cannot be shielded at all. Arcane enchanted beams will be now more spread out, and their damage has been reduced by approximately a third as well. There are plenty more changes, but I feel probably these were the most important. Let me know if I left something out, otherwise see you on the other side.